YouTube land. Today I would like to talk very briefly about this new product that is limited edition from Makeup Forever. It is the Artist Palette number 3, which is Spring Flowers, Rebellious Flowers. And I say, be a rebel.
I'm a maniac,
Because I'm wearing my Pokemon blingin', yo. The description that is on the Makeup Forever website about this palette, and I'm just going to read it to you. This palette contains a selection of 3 perfectly matched artist shadow trios to create 3 easy and effortless looks and an educative leaflet. In this palette, Danny Sands, I hope I'm saying that correctly, reinvents spring flowers. Their nature is transformed, their colors unexpected, their essence is twisted to give birth to an imaginary, bold flower. They are no longer boring and conventional. Inspiring, exhilarating, and luminous, they reveal Danny Sands is Secret Garden. That is the description from the Makeup Forever website. It's a little, artistic, we'll say. I also have notes on here so I do not forget anything. I wanted to make 2 quick notes before I start talking about this palette. Number 1, the reason I talk about makeup on the Spoonie channel is because I know for me, as someone who has chronic illness and who has had chronic illness for a long time, that even if I can get my makeup done in a day, it gives me kind of some semblance of happiness and normalcy to an otherwise very abnormal life. And I say, if you can do that, that's great. And makeup is fun. It's just makeup, play around, have fun. It just makes me feel happy and good sometimes, and I need that. Number 2, I have seen very few reviews about this palette on YouTube, and the ones I have seen, some of them have mentioned that this palette is a Sephora exclusive. This is not true. Personally, I did buy this on Sephora.com, but it is no longer available from Sephora. It is sold out, but it is still available from the Makeup Forever website, so I will link that down below in the description bar. So if you're interested in buying this, you can buy it. Oh, there's a third point. Number 3, during the holiday season, I noticed that many of the big brands, and I'm not going to name them here because I don't think that's very nice and I don't want to be hated by makeup brands. A lot of the big makeup brands did make a lot of their holiday sets in the countries in which they are normally produced, such as Canada or the United States or Italy or France, etc. But then they would make, their big holiday palettes or sets, the ones that everybody wanted and sold out quickly, they would make in China. And I kind of have a big problem with this. Number 1, because the people who are making your products in China are making literally cents or less per hour. Number 2, the quality control in countries such as China is essentially unknown. And number 3, it just pisses me off because it is essentially the big companies trying to increase their profit margins at a time when they know people are buying the most. So I did not see Makeup Forever do this at all. And I did check every palette that I bought, every set that I bought from them during the holidays. I did not buy, the jumbo sets that were $200+, but I did buy quite a few palettes and sets. Some of them were produced outside of Italy and Germany, and the traditional places Makeup Forever makes their products regularly. So, on to the palette. This is what the outside looks like. It has a spring flower design along with the traditional Makeup Forever design. On the back, you have your shades. As always, the Makeup Forever artist shadows are usually numbered, made in Italy. This, compared with this, which is Artist Palette 2, the bright colorful one, which I also picked up during the holidays. This is also made in Italy. I just double checked. But I did want to mention when I picked both of these up simultaneously, this is heavier than this. And that is because the pans in this palette are actually smaller than the pans in this palette, which I don't really know why they did that. They're not much smaller, but these are 1.5 grams or 0.05 ounce each pans, and these are 1.8 grams or 0.06 ounces each. I calculated it out. This ended up being under half an ounce total, and this was just over half an ounce total. You get less with this one, and the MSRP for this is $44, and you get more with this one if you're interested in buying this and you do not have this, and I believe this is $2 less at Sephora and on Makeup Forever, so just to keep that in mind. Also to compare, the 15 Artist Shadow Palette, which I also picked up, I believe, during the VIB Rouge sale, whenever that was. This has the larger size pans as well. If you're looking for bang for your buck, I would say this is your best deal. There is a Sephora VIB 10% off coupon floating around out there, which I did use to purchase this while it was still available at Sephora. I know you can't buy this now, but if you are interested in this or some of the other artist palettes, I will link that coupon code below also so you can use it if you have not already. I'm only comparing what the repeats are from this palette in the artist palette number 2, the 15 Shadow Artist palette, and the studio case. So to open this up, although the pans themselves are slightly smaller, you can't really see that. You can just feel kind of the weight of this. It is the same arrangement as the other 9-pan artist shadow palettes, and they are arranged in rows of 3 trios vertically with shades that go together. Also, there is a little leaflet, educational leaflet, in this box, which contains some ideas for looks. This explains how they're laid out, so you use, this row together, this row together, this row together. I started out with this look myself, but I kind of changed it around. So you can experiment and play, but there are some ideas in this little booklet if you are interested in just where to start. That is in the box, and then you have your shadows arranged again vertically. So if you want to use the ideas that are in the book, you can use these 3 shadows, that trio, this trio, or this trio. Or you can be like me and mix and match because that's fun. I know there's a lot of people who are saying there are no mattes, and there are no mattes. Over here is a satin shade. That's the only satin shade in this palette. But I do not feel that any of these shadows are particularly sparkly. I also used this gold and this white shade. So I kind of went like, ooh, and then those two. So I just didn't use these 2 today. On to the repeat shades. The first repeat shade is this ME930, which is an artist palette too. I'm going to swatch these also for you guys, just in case you are interested in picking this up while it is still available from the Makeup Forever website. The second repeat shade is this D236, which is kind of this peacock turquoise, bluish green teal color. That shadow also appears in both the 15 Artist Shadow Palette and the Studio Case. There are 2 more repeat shades, and the next one is this ME512, and it's kind of like a champagne gold sandy color. So for you neutral lovers out there, you have this one, which is a repeat, and that appears in the Artist Shadow 2 palette. And the last repeat shade in this palette that I know of is this I528, which is this pretty white color. It's basically a pretty staple color that you can use, for highlighting. I, again, don't think it's too shimmery. I don't really think any of these are really too shimmery. Even this one in the middle, which appears shimmery, but I use that as like a blush color today, and it doesn't look sparkly at all to me. This shade also appears in the Holiday 15 Artist Shadow Palette. So those are your repeat shades. That's 4 out of 9. And although there are no mattes, I feel like you can really use this palette to, you know, blend out or whatever you want. You don't have to use a matte shade to blend things out or as a transition shade. Have fun with it, you know, experiment. It's just makeup. Have fun. So I'm taking my gloves off. And the reason I have gloves on is because it's freezing here. And if you're in the Northeast with me, you know what it is like outside. I did prime my arms ahead of time, both arms, with this Makeup Forever Step 1 Skin Equalizer Base Smoothing Primer. This sample I got from Sephora. This is made in Japan. So I am going to do these in the vertical rows that are supposed to be the trios that go together. And I will show you these on my fingers and tell you the names. This yellow is S404. This turquoise, again, is D236. And this dark blue is ME230. So that's the first row. I'm going to hold it all up again at the end so you can see them all together. So the next three, starting from the bottom, going up. So we have ME512, which is a repeat. We have I804 and I544. So that's this row. And none of them look terribly sparkly to me. And last but not least, we have this row, starting with this one. The color you see in the pan is essentially the color you get on your face, and they blend well. They do layer well over each other, even the light colors over the dark colors. There's not a ton of fallout. Currently, these are my favorite shadows, at least that I know about right now. That's I528, I918, and ME930. So those three are that last row. And that's a repeat. And that's a repeat. So the repeat shades you have are this turquoise, this gold, this dark bluish purple, and then this white kind of neutral color also. So this is all of the colors together. And I'm just going to read through the names again and show you each shade so that you can see them one more time and make sure I got the numbers correct. So this first one, which is this dark blue color, is ME230. This peacock blue, green, turquoise, teal color, which is a repeat, is D236. Then we have this yellow, which is the only satin in the palette, which is S404. The second row is this pretty brownish kind of color, maybe mauve a little, is I544. Then we have this coppery red kind of color, which I use for a blush today. That is I804. Then we have this repeat, which is ME512, which is kind of a goldy sand shade. Then finally to the last row, this is another repeat, ME930, that purpley dark color. Then this lavender shade is I918. And finally, the last shade, which is also a repeat, is I528, and that's kind of just a basic white shade. And as you can see, the one that seems the most sparkly to me is this turquoise. That's the repeat in seemingly every palette. It may be the gold. The rest don't really look too sparkly or sparkly at all to me. So that is it. That is my discussion and swatching of the Makeup Forever Artist Palette 3, the Spring Flower / Rebellious Flower Palette. I hope that has helped you if you decide to buy this. Again, it is still available on the Makeup Forever website. I will link that below. Thank you very much for your time and for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!